Hey, everybody. So glad that you're joining us today on FBC Missions Podcast. And I'm here with a great guest, our friend Kelly, who led a team to Malawi this year. So I hope you enjoy. Welcome to FBC Missions So That Podcast. This is an encouraging place to hear how God is working in and around us. We know that He blesses His people so that they can bless the world around them. Join us as we discuss how to join God in all that He is doing. Why is God working in our life, church, and community? It's so that through us, the world will know that He is near. All right. Hey, everybody. We're so glad that you're joining us today on our podcast. We have a great one in store for you today. I just want to welcome my co-host, Brittany. How are you, Brittany?
I am wonderful. I'm so excited for today's episode.
Yeah, great. Me too. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we have a guest in the studio with us. Today we have Kelly Nelson. Kelly, how are you?
I'm good.
Great. I'm excited to get to hear your story. We've had you on here before, right?
Yes.
This is our second podcast. And the first one was incredible. If you haven't heard that podcast, you should go back and listen to it. How God really called Kelly into these ministries and what she's doing now. It's just an incredible story. And so we're so thankful to have you here again, Kelly. So, gosh, you guys have done a lot. It's been a busy summer, but you went all the way to Africa and back. And Brittany, you got to go with her, so you got an insider scoop on this one as well. And,
what a blessing. I did get to go. And that's a God story in itself, maybe for another day. Yeah.
Okay.
It was awesome.
Yeah, I think I remember you jumped on at the last minute and basically bought your ticket 10 days in advance. I don't know if it's 10 days, but close. It was fast. And so it was lightning speed when it comes to preparing for a mission trip. And so, well, both of you are amazing ladies, and you have so much energy. You guys are both it's hard to keep up with you. And so it's a lot of fun to have you both here together. So tell us just a little bit, introduce our listeners to Malawi, the ministry there, and then let's talk about our mission trip team. So Kelly, could you just give us a real quick overview of what God's been doing through your work over the last few years?
Well, I've had 2 trips to Malawi since we last talked, and God has done extraordinary, phenomenal things there. His word is spreading, and people are developing a relationship with Him, and God is moving powerfully, not just there, but also here to bring workers because the harvest is plentiful. And so I'm overwhelmed by what God did this past summer, and stirring hearts. We took a team of 9 this summer. First time for me to lead a mission trip, and so my experience in Malawi this summer was very different than it had been in the past. I was blessed by it immensely, but it was a very different experience for me personally. So God bless the team members in many ways and bless the people of Missinja Village extraordinarily.
Yeah, so let's talk just a little bit about that. You've been to Malawi many times.
Yes.
But this trip is different because you went really as a team leader. You were more concerned with your team and making sure that they're going to be successful. So tell us a little bit about that. How was the preparation different? How was your goals? How did it look different from last year's trip?
Well, when it was just Greg and I didn't really necessarily concern myself about food. I didn't worry about if we got sick. There are just so many things that if we went all day without eating, that was fine, but I couldn't ask 7 people to go all day and not eat. It was just very, very different, my perspective was. So my energy was used to make sure that those team members were taken care of, as opposed to preparing all of the lessons, because I was the sole teacher. Greg is a behind-the-scene kind of a guy. He serves great in that capacity, but that put all of the teaching, all of the training on me. And this year I had very little training responsibility while in Malawi. So my efforts were to make sure that the team was equipped and prepared to do the work that God had called them to do. And there was a great blessing in that. And it was a thrill for me, and it opened up the opportunity for me to do some administrative things there that I didn't normally get to do because I was doing primarily most of the teaching.
Sure. Well, I remember last year you coming back and talking about the number of chiefs that were impacted, and even when you talk about Missinja Village, there's a lot of other small villages that are kind of connected to it that are involved, and so you've got these leaders. Again, in Africa, they're called chiefs, and then you've got all these different groups. But when you fly into Lilongwe. That's the capital city. And then how far do you drive to get to Missinja Village?
Well, we actually timed it. We're about an hour on the highway outside of Lilongwe, and then we have 25 to 30 minutes down a dirt road to get to Missinja Village.
And how many people live there in Missinja Village?
We ask that question a lot, and we don't have a definitive answer. But one of the chiefs told us that his village was about 450 people. So if each chief has that, he actually seemed to have a large area, but somewhere between 450-ish in a village. And we have 30 to 40 chiefs involved. Okay. So I'm not a mathematician, but that's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's like 16,000 people, 400 times 40, I think. Somebody can figure that out. Somebody can write me if I'm wrong.
I think you're right.
We're working it out on a phone right now just to make sure. But yeah, look at that.
You got it to zero.
Oh, I had it to zero. It's only 1,600.
Yeah.
40 times 400. Okay. Anyway, sounds good. Well, lots. That's incredible all by itself. And 30 to 40 villages or chiefs that are represented there. So tell me about what you guys endeavored to do. Like, why are you taking a team there? Why it's a long ways to go.
It is a long way.
And why Malawi and why FBC and why now?
Well, I started going to Malawi, Africa in 2011. And I shared that story on the other podcast, why I ended up there, as well as why I ended up at FBC. And last year, Lori Rogers asked me to share at Tabletop Treasures, and a lot of hearts were stirred. Sherry came to me afterwards and said, I want to go to Malawi with you. And then the team just began to grow. Sherry's husband, Jack, decided that he would go to Malawi with her. Sandra and her husband, Craig, decided to go. Lori decided to go. Lisa decided to go. Of course, Greg and I were there, and then Brittany joined us. So that's how FBC kind of got involved. I'm a member here and shared the story, and I struggled to share the story because I'm always so nervous to speak. The only reason I say yes is because God just convicted me that he does not get the glory if I keep my mouth closed. And so I step out to go. But I would say that so many people from FBC didn't travel the distance physically with us, but so many people got involved, I decided that I needed to take them with us. And so I got pictures of all of them and cut them out and glued them to popsicle sticks because I wanted the people of Missinja Village to see that behind the 9 people that were there was this army of people that had provided for us physically, financially, and that were prayerfully covering our every step along the way.
Can I ask you, could you quantify that for a second? Like when you went and you got these people, you took the pictures, how many people did you bring with you that didn't get to go, but just on...
Well, I wasn't able to get pictures of everyone. Sure. I don't know how many. I don't have quantity, but we asked the Sew Quilters group to make needle booklets for us. And for me, I wanted them to understand that their contribution made them a part of our team.
Sure.
So I went in personally to thank them for it. I offered them a little gift from Malawi. I can't remember now if it was the I Love You hand or the clinging cross, but invited them to be a part of our team, just reiterating to them their value. It wasn't in just a tangible needle pack, but it was them participating in the Great Commission. It's kind of needle sewing was another donkey. It was an opportunity that drew women in, that allowed us then to preach the gospel message to them. They were coming to learn a skill, and they got way more than the ability to sew. They got the Word of God.
And Chad, I'll jump in here. Kelly talked a little bit about her new role as a leader, and then we're talking about the people that she brought on who weren't there physically. It was incredible. We felt FBC from halfway around the world. And I mean, just so grateful from that morning when she had taped their pictures in the van for that 1.5-hour drive out to the village. I personally stepped on that van and saw pictures of my children, and you can hear the tears coming now, just being that far from home and having that love with us through pictures was awesome. And we would drive into the village every morning, and we were every time greeted by chanting and singing. And that particular morning, we got off the van, and we started passing out the popsicle sticks, and the women and children are waving the sticks also, and knowing that these people love them as well, because they were already overwhelmed with our love, because there were 9 Mzungus coming into their village. That's what they call white people. And so that was one tangible way that, First Baptist was with us, but also in the morning, around the table at breakfast, we had devotionals from the sending team. Every morning at 5-ish a.m., Kelly was our mail person, and she was sliding envelopes under our door with handwritten letters from home. And so those are some ways. We posted our Amazon wish list on social media, and I mean, we kept saying, is there anything else? Is there anything else? And we took 18 50-pound bags. Each team member had one 50-pound bag for personal things, but then we had 9 50-pound bags of supplies that were donated. I mean, it was incredible what this church poured out. It was just absolutely incredible.
I wish maybe we're done even just like if we could sit down and count out if it was like 8 or 9 or 10 per person, per team member, like, making that the 9 people represented 90 people serving or whatever. Maybe 900, like, so many people in the church were involved.
God multiplied everything on this trip. He multiplied our time. He multiplied our energy. He multiplied finances. He multiplied supplies. It was incredible.
Yeah. That's awesome to hear. I don't want to get too distracted on this. So we're still talking about the lead up to the trip. So that's incredible. I love it. I think that a lot of people maybe miss that. They miss that every person that goes represents a community that's sending. And FBC is a sending church. And so like we have a lot of people this year. I think we're going to have close to 110, maybe 120 people participating in an international mission trip, which could represent, again, if there's 8 to 10 or 20 people behind them, that could represent so many thousands of people that are involved in giving and supporting and sending and caring and writing and praying and listening and all of those pieces. And so maybe if you're listening, you've been a part of helping someone go. Maybe you've gone yourself, but realize it's really anyone who goes is going on behalf of a group that's sending. And what a cool thing is everybody is a part of that. We need every single part of the body of Christ for the body of Christ to do the things that God's called us to do. And so we're so thankful for people's participation. We're thankful for the support of the church, your families that allow you to go, who are going to miss you while you go, who may miss not only the things you do for them, but also sometimes guys are going who are working and they take a week off of work. They use a vacation week or whatever else it might be. And so, gosh, there's so many ways that people sacrifice to make these trips come about. So talk about why. Talk about the people. Why go through all this effort to mobilize such a big work for these villages in Malawi? Many people, when I say Malawi, people hear Maui. They immediately say, "Oh, I love Hawaii," and I said, "No, Malawi. It's in kind of the southern side of Central Africa, and oh, Malawi." Okay, right. So why Malawi? I mean, you told me why, but I know from before, and I don't want to get too much into it. Why now? What was it? Why did you go this year?
Well, I went this year to finish what we started, and when I had a team, I got really nervous because I thought maybe I'm just partial. Maybe I've fallen in love with the country of Malawi and the people of Malawi, and perspective shook me pretty hard about why I was in Malawi, and I knew that God had really called me there, but then I began to question that. The truth of the matter is that the people of Missinja Village did not know Christ. They don't have the finances to buy Bibles. But what's always refreshing for me is going back to Malawi with people who've never seen Malawi before. So if I could defer to Brittany and let her maybe answer that. She didn't know. She felt God calling her to Malawi also. But I'd like for her to share maybe with fresh eyes what she saw in Malawi and why there is a need for missionaries to come.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm happy to share. The thing about what's happening in Malawi and what Kelly and Greg Nelson have started there is that these are young believers. And there were 42 people, 41 chiefs and a translator last year that were baptized. And they are wanting to share this. They want to go to other villages. And there's a vision there that I've picked up on really quickly. And it is that there is Kelly's African son. His name is Numeri, and he has actually just finished his degree in community development, right, Kelly? And what they have created is so special and so ordained. If you can imagine a field in the middle of really nowhere with concrete homes surrounding it, and there's a school. It's a 3-building school, and the most precious children in the world, 230 to 250, come every day to be taught, and they're being fed. And that's not a small matter in that village for them to be fed and to be taught. And one of the members of parliament even showed up on opening day and commended the work that is being done. And because of the magnitude of Kelly and Greg, of what they've already done and how First Baptist is helping them build the pig pens to create sustainability, it's getting known all the way up to the parliament level, the government level, the country's government in Malawi. So that's no small matter. And he's recognizing the fact that education and God go hand in hand in that country, and that country is active and alive. And then from my other perspective, aside from those amazing things alone, there are 3 unreached people group in Malawi. And unreached means that a people group, not a geopolitical nation, but a people group with common language and culture and location. There's 3 unreached people group there, meaning they have little to no access to the gospel. Here in the U.S., if someone doesn't know Jesus, it's a little bit easier than a country like Malawi or even somewhere, in Asia. But what's so cool is we know that one of the unreached people group there are the Yao people, and we saw several Yao people on the way to the lake one day, and we started asking interpreters and different people if they had any family members who were from the Yao tribe, and they do. And the last day, when they were celebrating us before we left, they said, we've been so inspired that we're ready to make sure more people outside of this village know about Jesus. And to me, that's what it's about. It's not about keeping it. It's about sharing it so that others will share as well.
Sure. I love it. There's a fun little thing here. You took perspectives this spring. You took it last spring. And for your project, Brittany, I think that you ended up kind of randomly selecting the Yao people from Malawi. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct.
And at that time, you weren't planning to go to Malawi with...
I didn't even know Brittany.
I wasn't sure that you even knew there was a Malawi trip going. And
I didn't even know where Malawi was.
So let me just ask again, I don't want to take too much time, but why did you pick the Yao people? Just so you know, listeners, there's around 7,000 unreached people groups on the planet. All of them have a different name, language, culture, custom, location, right? Like probably the easiest way to describe unreached people groups in a way that people understand in the United States is like a Indian tribe. So you might think of the Navajo, or you might think of like the Apache Indians, or, if you watch Westerns, the Comanches or whatever. And they were all American Indians, but they had completely different culture, customs, and languages, so that they didn't communicate or interrelate to each other. They might have warred against each other. They may have interacted, but they didn't interact like they were brothers and sisters, right? They were completely separated, just like we would be from an Indian speaker or a Hindu speaker from India. And so in perspectives, you get to the end, you get to pick out of 4 different projects. One of them is a people group project where you look for an unreached people group, you research them, you study a little bit, you write a 5-page paper on what it might take, what it would look like for you to engage them. And so you went through that process and you wrote your paper on the Yao people group.
Yes.
So how did you pick the Yao?
Well, I will say that I'm a good student, and I usually am way on top of things. And we had to declare our project on week 9, I believe. And on week 11, we were like, it was go time.
Right. It's due the last day of class. So it takes a little time for build up.
Yeah, and I got to week 13, and I really didn't know. And I'd even bugged you about it. I had bugged my grader Sherry about it.
Yeah, I remember advising you in different areas.
Different area, and
I'd never heard of the Yao people until you guys came back from Malawi. So.
And I just wasn't getting passionate about any particular thing, and so it occurred to me, why not ask the Lord?
And then he said, start at the back. So you went to Z, and then you got to the Y's, and you found Yao.
So I heard him whisper Malawi, and I was like, what? No, Malawi. I'm like, Malawi or Malawi? So I go to the Joshua Project, which is an awesome website where you can learn a whole lot about God's heart for unreached people.
JoshuaProject.org.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Search Malawi, there was nothing. And I searched Malawi, and lo and behold, it's a country. And lo and behold, there's unreached people there. And
which is another big surprise to me. Like I knew it was 90% Christian, so I wouldn't have even thought about looking to see what unreached people groups were there.
Yeah.
Just wouldn't have thought about it.
Yeah. So I get so excited and declare to my grader in my perspectives class, Sherry, who was already going on the Malawi trip, I'm going to study the Yao people of Malawi. And she's like, cool, that's where we're going this summer. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. And she says, you should talk to Kelly Nelson. And I'm thinking, that is fabulous, because I'm 2 weeks behind on this paper and I need some help. I thought Kelly and I were meeting about a paper.
Yeah, and Kelly's an expert about the Yao.
Right.
She's like, what are you talking
about? Expert about anything. I wrote about the Yao also.
Oh, did you?
In my paper.
Gosh, I probably read your paper. I don't remember. Golly. Those of you listening, don't think bad of me. There's sometimes 40 papers.
All the UPGs, unreached people groups studied?
Yeah, all 7,000 of them. They're right there in my short-term recall.
What I actually realized, because perspectives shook me up so bad, is that did I mishear God? And when I was writing my paper and studying about the Yao, I thought, for such a time as this, Kelly, my second Esther moment in Africa mission work, that's why he kept me. I was so glad that he kept me in Malawi, but I didn't understand why after I'd taken perspectives. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Not yeah. Yao. Yeah. So the Yao people group. So you know a little bit about them. How many are there?
2.3 million.
2.3 million. So there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them.
Do you know? I'm sorry. I'm going to ask you these statistics.
The Yao people helped the slave traders. Mm-hmm. And when David Livingston came in, he was mortified by...
This is late 1800s, by the way.
By the slave trade going on. And so he rallied Christians to put an end to the slave trade there. Well, that cut off the money that the Yao tribe was receiving, because they would go in, they would come up the Zambezi River into Lake Malawi.
Kidnap
and then
people, take them.
The Yao would do that
Sure.
and then have them ready to load on the ships. And so I think that was originally the Yao people's resistance to Christianity. I think today they may not know any longer why there's animosity that they have towards the Christian people. They're Muslim, but that's what I know. A little piece of history.
Yeah. So there's a lot of them. Are they mostly in Malawi, or are they scattered across multiple countries?
They're in multiple countries. There are a lot in Malawi.
Malawi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think the majority are in Malawi, if my recollection serves me. And then is it Mozambique and
Zambia.
And Zambia. Yep.
Bordering countries to Malawi.
Well, again, I'm really interested in learning more about what that's going to look like as you're imagining kind of your future, Kelly, as you think about Malawi, but also as you kind of guide FBC. You're our point of contact. You're kind of our tip of the spear. We're just getting involved really in Malawi. We're just learning about it through you the last few years. So I'm really excited to see what that's going to look like as it moves forward. That is a talking point I've heard a lot about, but it really wasn't the primary thrust of your work in Malawi this summer. I think there was some discovery about the Yao, and there's some interesting opportunities. But what were some of your main purposes this time as you go? You mentioned the school. You've talked about the chiefs. A number of them were baptized a year ago. Helping them gain the ability to multiply generational faith into their own villages and beyond. So tell me a little bit about that.
So as Brittany mentioned, these are very much baby Christians. And so the primary focus this year was foundations training, which is kind of an overview of the entirety of the Bible and how it all points to Jesus. And we started with the 12. We Mary, Gift, Simon identified 12 leaders, and so we're kind of following the Jesus model. We train them really well so that they can continue to help with that further training throughout the year when we aren't present. But we started with the 12, and then they were present through all of the other trainings, so they got it over and over. Then we trained the chiefs and men, the male chiefs and men. Then we trained the women in foundations. Then we trained the youth in foundations, and we had a full day of training with each of these different groups. And then we had one day where we did a VBS with the little primary age children, and then some more just training in discipling the youth.
Yeah.
And Chad, let me give you some numbers. Over 80 men, over 80 women, and over 70 youth. And they would sit for about 5 hours and hear.
On the ground in the sun.
Yeah. Just by the way, it was cooler, right? It wasn't blazing hot.
Well,
what was the
it's
temperature like?
winter there.
Yeah, right.
But it was 85 to 92.
Still hot in the
like
daytime.
March. It's like what we experienced probably in March, right?
Okay.
March.
Maybe a little warmer.
Maybe
a little.
March in the valley.
maybe.
Well, that's incredible.
It's warm for us, cool in the evenings.
Yeah, well, let's real quick talk about the foundations training. I don't want to assume that my readers will know our listeners will know what that means. Like what we're talking about is it's basically an oral tradition. So you're trying to tell biblical stories that express foundational truths. That's why it gets the word foundations. And so you might think like they're going to spend one of the major stories is creation, and then I think the fall of man, sin, and they're going to talk about the redemptive purpose in Christ, and then later on that Jesus is going to return. And so I think it's 5. Is it 5 stories in this particular set? There are many different versions of this kind of oral Christian story processes. Some are as comprehensive as like 60 stories. Some are 32 stories. I've seen 16 and 12, but these first 5 that they were using this time in Malawi are really these core foundational stories that tell the big, I mean, these are your 30,000 foot stories of how God interacts with man throughout Christian history, including, of course, again, creation and fall of man and God's deliverance. And so you get these big pictures. But because it's so story-oriented and people are oral, that means that they understand the world by what they see and the stories they hear, not by what they read, which is like a literate culture like ours. So what's really amazing in these cultures is they can hear a story one time often and can tell it verbatim the next step. If they hear it 2 or 3 times, it's like locked into their memory forever. And so by telling these stories, by going through these particular 5 stories in these different groups, you really have created almost the theological core with these stories to equip them to talk about the God they believe in to someone who doesn't know. And so it really is, it's everything from simple disciple making on how do you know and see God, all the way through how do you train a new believer to know and see God, and then how do they see a new believer. So you really can see generational tracking. You can track generational growth, where one generation, Gen 1, heard it from the Mzungus, Gen 2 hears it from Malawans on down. And so if you get to generation 30, you still have the same content being told with the same points, but maybe many, many, many generations removed from the original tellers. So this tool has been used really all over the world, and I'm really, really excited that you guys used it so powerfully and so thoroughly in those villages. So we have a couple more minutes. You mentioned the pig farm. I'd love to talk more about the pig farm, but I think bigger deal, and maybe more important, is to really talk about what are you praying for? What are you hoping for after this year's trip? And by the way, everyone I've talked to, the 9 people that went, all of them were so impacted by the trip. And I wish I could interview Numeri on our podcast. That'd be a fun thing to set up and hear it from his perspective too. I'm sure it'd be a blessing for the church to hear from Malawan how he was impacted. But beyond that, what are you hoping for? If you were to look out a couple of years, what are you praying for, Kelly?
Multiplication.
What does that mean to you?
So Missinja Village, my prayer has been that they would be the light on the hill that draws others, making them curious for what they've placed their hope in that has caused them to become this light. And I see that happening. Their joy amidst extreme poverty and lack, as we would say, they have nothing in their homes, literally.
Nothing
resources, materially. Yeah. But their joy is contagious now. And so my prayer would be that just expands, kind of like one rock in a pond creates increasing ripples to the edges of the planet, that they would feel empowered, that it doesn't need to be a Mzungu coming to baptize them, that it doesn't need to be Mzungus coming to teach them the Word of God, that they can learn it and then that they can go forth with it, that they are called, they would be equipped and anointed to do the very work that we are doing. It's for all of us that call Jesus Lord and Savior to fulfill the Great Commission, and we're all challenged with that.
Yeah, Mzungu or Malawan,
yes,
or Mexican or Indian.
It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter. We all
if
have the same.
If you are a disciple of Jesus, it is our
priestly calling. It is,
and it's a privilege. It's an honor, and it has blessed me like nothing else in my life.
Well, you continue to bless us as well, Kelly. We're so thankful for your investment, both in our church and the people that you're working alongside, and that you're leading into a place like this. But I can see, Brittany, that you have something to say too, and you're thinking about.
Well, we can't close this. I do think you want to hear about the pig farm, but also, Chad, we also were able to disciple to an unexpected group our last night. That's amazing. And so I would just encourage you to ask her about that also.
I don't know who's ringing. It sounds like my phone or my computer. Sorry, those of you who are listening. I'm not sure. I looked at my phone. It wasn't ringing either. So interesting. Okay.
So, Chad, I do want to tell this story because this is just God. It's huge. So, all day on our final day in community, we really actually had a very short day. We were baptizing those who asked to be baptized, which our driver, again, asked to be baptized. One of our translators asked to be baptized, and a difficult chief. I don't know what that definition really means. That was just given to me, and we have not broken that down yet. But the difficult chief also came on the last day to be baptized, which was really exciting. But we were hoping to get back early that night. We'd talked about getting back early so that we could get packed and perhaps go to the market. We didn't actually get out very early, but every day on the way home, we would have a special treat and sing a special song. If you want to know about that, you'll have to go to Malawi. But just after we sang our special song and got our special treat, our van broke down. And the wheel locked up, and it was not going to be fixed. But in God's goodness, He provided. We were able to walk to Kapinga Trading Center. So Kapinga Trading Center is where the dirt road meets the highway, and we already explained that was a 25-minute drive. And we're not terribly far from Missinja Village, but we're leaving late, not early, and the sun sets pretty quickly usually as we get on the road, and we're late. And so
just so you know, at that moment, Chad's phone in the United States blew up with every FBC member letting me know.
Not me, because I was basking in the sunset. I'm like, there is no problem.
No. Well, the question was
didn't come from me either.
Whether you guys were safe walking on the road in the middle of the African savannah
Kelly was playing
with the
with
sun
African
going down.
kids. They had these cool toys.
Well, there were people texting like, "Are there lions in the area?" And I'm thinking, and I'm like, I don't think there are in Malawi, but I mean, I could be wrong. But people are thinking it's getting dark. They're in Africa. What's going on? And this makes the world extremely small, right? Like,
right.
What are you going to do, Chad? Happened to me multiple times. I'm thinking,
pray.
Well. Please do pray. That's the easy solution.
That's what we did. The men were working on the van, and the women circled up, and we prayed. And then I said, okay, well, let's walk. Gift lives at Kapinga Village. So we're going to walk to Gift's house. Gift has already ridden his bicycle. He's gone home. And so we start walking, and it was a divine appointment. We got to witness, we got to take pictures of the beautiful African sunset. We were soon getting on an airplane for a long sit, and so to walk was delightful. But I was a little panicked because I know that we should not spend the night. We don't have extra water. Everybody's water bottles are at the very end. We can't drink water out in community. It is not safe for us to be there. I knew that the people of Missinja Village would encircle us and watch over us throughout the night, but I just was a little bit panicked, but I just kept trusting God. We played with children for this long walk that didn't even seem long or difficult. And we got to Gift's house.
Well, and the women, we left and went on to the trading center, and the men stayed back with the van.
Mm-hmm. Then they had to hire guards because it could get stripped of everything, tires and everything. But we eventually met up there, and the sun's going down, and it's now dark. But in front of Gift's house is this massive number of children and men and women, many of which we can't see. And we're in Kapinga Trading Center, and there's loud music playing. And we've sung all the songs that we know to sing. We've done the hokey pokey. We've done the chicken dance. We've done everything we know to do. And there was a hush that fell over everything as we're kind of sitting there thinking, what next? The stars were out, the sun had set, and in the silence, I heard Lori Rogers say, "In the beginning." And she just started in on the foundations training, and she went through her entire story in the dark without a single note. The whole crowd got silent. The man who was playing the music in his store turned his music down or off. Or God made me deaf to it so I could hear, I don't know. But all 4 women went through, or all 5 women went through the foundations story. And shortly after it finished, Lori played one game with them to kind of wrap it up, and our replacement van arrived. So it was God's divine appointment.
Sure.
And that was, at one point, I counted, and there was over 50 gathered around us out in Gift's just area in front of his house.
That's amazing. It's amazing. There's so many amazing stories, and that one is definitely everyone's favorite. Again, anytime you can think about how you get to share the gospel with an unintended group in a place that you probably would never go. It's not like that's your next place that you were hoping to next year. Like it's a different spot altogether, one that you passed through, and yet now maybe who knows what the Lord will do, maybe expand gifts, opportunity to minister there in his own little village where his home is. Well, I am so thankful for it. We'll talk about the pigs just really briefly. We're way beyond time here, and we have another podcast in a few minutes that we're recording. So we gave some funds to help start a sustainment project. The idea is that they would build a few pig pens and then buy some pairs of pigs so that they can start having pig babies and having piglets there. And within the 8 days you guys were on the ground, the entire thing was basically constructed from scratch. And you were sending us pictures of just the incredible speed at which the pig pens were put up. So tell us a little bit now, maybe a quick update. Do they have pigs?
They do have pigs. They had one sow that gave birth to some piglets. They have not finished the final pens, but they started roofing them on Friday. Okay. So I'm sure that by now, not Friday. Yes, Friday. I'm sure that by now they're completely finished. Getting supplies to the center is very interesting. For example, we left a sewing machine for the ladies, and it came on a motorcycle.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Getting supplies out
You're gonna
to
buy some pairs of pigs. They're going to come on
they
motorcycles.
come on a motorcycle.
It's like a backpack.
It is.
Or an ox cart.
Or an ox cart,
yeah. So the goal is to sell 100 pigs a year. 100 pigs a year makes them self-sustainable. Pays for all of their...
So tell me, what does "there" mean? You're talking about the school?
The ministry.
The ministry in the village, Missinja Village. Yes. So it'll help Numeri.
So it will pay Numeri's salary, gift salary, the teachers, the cooks.
Yeah.
It will provide all of the maize. 100 pigs takes care of all ministry expenses.
It's incredible. I know that there's a cornfield that you guys were working on a year ago as well, and the chiefs have been so kind in donating both property and place, and even protecting some of it for you guys to keep it safe. And it really is a community development project. It's looking at transforming a community together. So a lot of times you'll see ministries that focus on like a child sponsorship program, and it might help one child in a family or a couple of children in a family, but it can't help all of the children in the family. And sometimes you'll find some women's groups that will kind of teach how the women can impact their community, but a really strong project does all of it. It's engaging kids, it's engaging schools, it's engaging the women and helping them grow in their capacity. It's engaging men, help them learn how to be, beneficiaries to their families. Like be someone that blesses your family, not someone that takes from your family. And it's a hard thing because many cultures in the world, men are the ones in the family exists for the man. Is kind of the way it's seen. So everything is secondary to his pleasure. And so teaching men to have a bigger role in their family than just to benefit from their wife's work or their children's whatever. And so like listening and hearing how God's continuing to work all the way through the village chiefs to their transformation, spiritual transformation, the way that they want to see that bring kind of vibrancy and vitality to their groups and to their homes and to their villages. And then to see how the gospel is transforming the way they see themselves and the way they see their village and the way that they see the opportunity to take this to other villages. And then even beyond to maybe somebody that, like a Yao people group that may have historically been an enemy, is an incredible thing to see. And so I'm so thankful. Again, I can't say this enough for the way God has led you to First Baptist, the influence you've had in our community here, And I think that you'll continue to have. You're serving on our international missions team. We're so thankful for that. And I mean, people who are listening, you may not know, but she's also going to help lead our short-term team leader training coming up here soon. So Kelly, you have become such a major part of who we are. Mm-hmm. And I'm so excited to see how God continues to use your influence within our organization and all the ways that God is using us here. And for as long as
it's nothing of me, Chad. It is God. It's so God. And it can be anybody. It just takes an obedient yes. You know, Brittany struggled to make the decision. It was the last minute, but she felt God nudging, and that was a hard decision. And I think when we say yes to God, even in the hard things, He always blesses us. So it isn't me, and it could be any person in this church sitting in this chair with an incredible story like this. I'm wadding a Kleenex in my hand, overwhelmed that God would allow me to be a part of this incredible work, and He wants all of His children to be a part of it.
Well, here's the thing I would argue with you.
I want to argue too.
While I do believe that God has a calling for every person in our church, and every one of us needs to surrender our desires to His, there's only one sitting in that chair and only one that has that experience. And Kelly, your willingness to go, your willingness to say yes, and your willingness to pour yourself into it are all things that are unique to you. And it really helps me to see God in a different way through your service. And it's a blessing. It's a blessing. You're a blessing. But really, most powerfully, is God in you is an incredible blessing to all of us. And so we're thankful for you.
Chad, can I give a short summary about Kelly's leadership? And you're probably not going to like me for doing this, but it's okay. One morning, she told us that she felt like God was saying, wear yourself out for the Lord. And we want to also take care of ourselves, but Kelly modeled that really beautifully at what she was able to set up and how she was able to tap into our gifts, because she has, as a leader, she had no ego around it. She really wanted people to step in and be who God has called them to be in the gifts. And I was kind of the picture person, the social media person, sending updates back home. And after I finished teaching the second foundations lesson, one day I was standing out there just kind of in the middle, basking. And here we have Craig in the schoolroom doing a devotional with the men during their lunch. And we have Jack over there building a stovepipe so the women have easier ways to cook. And then we have Greg over helping with the pig's pen. And then I swirl around and I see Kelly and Lisa with the youth doing a soccer lesson, a devotion around soccer. And one of our FBC members donated towards new soccer balls. And then I know that Sherry and Sandra are in there with the women, teaching them how to sew after I had led a devotional and we had already done foundations. And I mean, how can you have that much going on in one village in the middle of Africa? Well, it is because of an obedient yes.
And a bunch of them. You took nine people, and each one of them used their gifts and skills to the best of their ability. And again, it takes a lot of effort to put that together, and it takes a lot of effort to mobilize a community of 50, 100, 150 people to support 9 people going. And so we're just so thankful. We've gone a little bit over. I might break this into two lessons so that it's not too long on the podcast. But listeners, I hope that you've enjoyed. And if you want to get to know any of us, we're all available. Each of the 3 of us are part of this community here at First Baptist. And so we would love to get to know anyone that would have any more interest in learning about what's going on in Malawi or the Yao people, or how to get involved in missions here at First Baptist, or perspectives. There's another perspectives class coming up in January of 26. We would love to give you whatever insight, tools, access that you think you might want. We would love to make it possible for you. And so we always talk about, why do we call this podcast the So That Podcast? It's out of Psalm 67. Right? It says, God says, may His face shine on you, be gracious to you, may He bless you. And then the next verse is, so that His name will be made known among the nations and His salvation among all the peoples. Guys, the reason why God blesses us is so that we can be a blessing to those around us. So that's your task today. If this has been encouraging to you, then I encourage you to be a blessing to someone else. Use the blessing that God's given you so that you can encourage share your faith, your heart, your hope with those around you, and make yourself his people sent to the world around you. So God bless you. We'd love to hear back from you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk soon. We are so thankful that you joined our podcast today. We would love to hear any feedback you may have for us. Remember, Psalm 67 says, "May God be gracious to us and bless us, and make his face shine on us, so that your ways may be known on earth and your salvation among all nations." Don't forget why the Lord blesses us. It's so that we can be a blessing to those around us. Until next time, God bless.